Yeah, I was just thinking about the different novel ideas I have, and I had an idea for a thriller novel. Not Thriller by Michael Jackson. I'm not talking about any like tie-in material, but something that would be set in the same, should I say, universe continuity as that show I was talking about doing, where it's kind of it's like a prequel, but not really, in the sense that it is something that would take place before the show without being like required reading material. And that's always been something I've despised about different media, and you know how companies are. It's like, hey, why did, just as an example, why did Nightcrawler disappear between X2 and X3? Oh, play the X3 video game to find out why. Just I've never been a fan of, hey, here's this important part of this story or this thing that happened. Why did it occur? Oh, go read this. Go check out this comic. Just that's always been tacky to me. No, this is more of sort of kind of playing around with the characters and getting an idea of how they talk and how they interact with each other, and just something of a test run to kind of see if this is something I'm fully committed to, because I already mentioned I wrote like a whole season, but I'm known to write stuff and then pull out of making it. But the plot would be that it's been, I'd say, around 8 or 9 years since there was a murder of this woman. And she was someone that this elderly couple, they were kind of like familiar with. They saw a few times. They weren't necessarily close with her, but they knew her to some degree. And the killer got away, rode off into the sunset, vanished, as is the case in real life many times. But then it's been, again, however many years, almost a decade. He returns. He's sending letters and different type of stuff to tease them, mess with them, which is not unlike how he was before. But, and it's pointed out by different characters, he's like very slow and methodical and not really willing seemingly to directly do anything to them or try anything with them. And the reason for that is because, knowing of their grandson who has superpowers, he's aware that if he were to try anything with them while he's there, while the grandson's there, he would be history. I mean, he would just get completely annihilated. So one of the things I liked about this story, and just kind of like the whole background and the gap in between things, is that you also have the younger grandson, who there's a 12-year age gap between with him and his older brother. So he actually wasn't born during the the killing and the immediate aftermath of it. And no one, of course, for the most part, sees any reason to mention to 6 or 5-year-old child, hey, there was this lady that we knew that got murdered or killed or whatever. So he's not aware of that. And then this killer, whose appearance is not known by that group, but he still is someone that they kind of like have an idea of what he might look like, sort of middle-aged guy, whatever. He can go around the younger grandson, act nice to and pleasant towards and whatnot, and extract information from him, and have him not even suspect it's the same guy that the rest of his family is looking for. So you kind of have this plot where, can the grandparents and the older grandson, catch this guy before he does something either to the little brother or to some other person that is in the story. And I take a very strict line when it comes to prequels. I mentioned before that I had a lot of these like Dexter fans about me. You don't want a Trinity prequel. But what I tried to explain when I responded to a few of them was that prequels can work if they're a good story in and of themselves, and also if they have elements that are actually suspenseful. The problem with a lot of these different prequels is that they have the same cast that, for the most part, we knew survived, which is why I brought up the example of how with Clone Wars you had likable characters like Rex, Ahsoka, who people were interested in seeing, were they going to make it out of this, because since they're not in episode 3, they theoretically don't survive or can be assumed to have not survived when that film's events take place. So, as with this novel, even if I have a focus on that core group of like 6 or 7, characters, and it probably would only be 6 actually, because I have one I'm probably not going to use that much in there or at all, just to kind of keep up one of the dynamics in the show. But I would certainly have a few characters who, they are, I'd say, featured in fairly prominent roles, and you start to wonder, did this person survive? Did this person, make it? And that's it's not a story necessarily where anyone could die, because I think, there's not really, like, I would have some super powered, threats, some of the more conventional comic book like elements of just some, villain who's got powers, but that's more of a secondary plot, where the main thing here is picking up with unfinished business, and just also, again, getting an idea of how the actual leads of the show interact with each other. And of course, since I voice everyone in the show, I also can, use their actual voices, while reading whatever line is attributed to them. But yeah, it's probably the way I do it is I release a chapter as a video, just each part, and then big old combined video later on. So the main plot is that killer coming back, and then the subplot would be something with another villain who either could be someone that I, make up on the fly, or some other person I introduce in the show. Because the idea, again, is that the grandson's been like active as a, I don't want to say superhero, but just certainly as someone that has like powers and helps people for a while. So it's not inconceivable that there are different superpowered antagonists that he's fought previously. So I'll probably, I might give a stab at writing the first chapter like on Twitter or something, and then I'll translate that into a video, and then we'll go from there.